Got a little bit of breaking news out of Texas as we continue to watch the Democratic U.S. Senate primary there. As you see, this is what we've got right now. 45% of the vote in. James Tallarico leading Jasmine Crockett right now, 53 to roughly 46%. But again, less than half the vote in. And one of the things we've been watching closely all night since we first sat down at this desk is the question of Dallas County. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett represents a district in Dallas. And Dallas County has had problems with the administration of their election today. We've been explaining that over the course of the night. I'm going to go right now to Evan Smith, who's the host of Overheard with Evan Smith on Austin PBS. He's a veteran observer of Texas politics. He's got 30 years experience doing that. And Evan, I'd like you to explain to us again what had happened earlier today in Dallas County, why things have been chaotic there, and now this new reporting about a judge's order about the extension of voting there.
Right. So as we talked about earlier, Rachel, the Republican Party in Dallas County decided they did not want to have countywide elections. They wanted to make people go to their assigned polling place locally. And if the Republicans say you can't have countywide, then the Democrats can't have countywide. So Democratic voters showed up thinking they were going to be able to vote at the places around the county they had voted, and they were turned away. And there was a big push to try to extend voting in Dallas County as a result of that, to give those people an opportunity to vote after all. A Dallas judge ordered the polls open until 9. Well, Attorney General Ken Paxton asked the Texas Supreme Court within the last couple of hours to overturn the Dallas judge's ruling. And according to reporting from my former colleague Eleanor Klibanoff at the Texas Tribune, the Texas Supreme Court has just temporarily blocked that judge's order to keep the polls open until 9, ordering the county to separate out the votes from people who were not in line at 7 o'clock. This throws a monkey wrench into the vote count in Dallas County. Whether those votes are going to count or not, we have no idea what's going to happen. It's a temporary ruling. But goodness, this is a mess, Rachel. It was already a mess. It's more of a mess now.
This is a pause of the vote extension in Dallas County. Are people being stopped from voting right now?
What I know is that the county is being told you have to take the votes that were cast in the last 2 hours. It's coming up upon that 9 o'clock hour central here in Texas right now. You have to take the votes that were cast by people who are not in line at 7 o'clock, push them to the side, and the fate and the status of those votes is now unknown. And of course, if you're Jasmine Crockett, you're thinking this is terrible for you, because this is the county where you're going to hopefully roar back into contention in this race.
And this is as you said, it was a Dallas judge who ordered the extension of voting in Dallas County. And then it was U.S. Senate candidate and sitting Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who asked for an individual state Supreme Court judge to weigh in and essentially overturn that other judge's ruling?
Asked the Supreme Court of Texas if they would come in and temporarily block that Dallas judge's order, and the Supreme Court came back and said, yes, we temporarily block it.
Do we know, is it multiple judges on the Texas Supreme Court, or is it one judge's ruling?
I mean, I don't know whether it was one judge or multiple, but my sense is that the court institutionally, as opposed to one assigned justice individually, but that's something we'll determine here in the course of the report.
Yeah, this is crazy stuff. Evan Smith, keep talking to your sources and do what you can to help us understand this. I think we'll be coming back to you. I can tell you, for all the lawyers who are listening to you right now, who are going to understand what I'm about to tell you, this is from the Supreme Court of Texas. Orders pronounced. A stay is issued in the following petition for writ of mandamus in re State of Texas from Dallas County. The district court's order granting emergency petition to extend voting hours issued today in cause number styled Cardell Coleman in his capacity as Dallas County Democratic Party chair versus Paul Adams in his official capacity as Dallas County Elections Administrator in the 162nd District Court, Dallas County, Texas, is stayed, meaning the earlier ruling that was in place that extended Dallas County voting, that order is stayed. And then here's the money quote. Voting should occur only as permitted by Texas Election Code Section 41-032. Votes cast by voters who were not in line to vote at 7 p.m. local time should be separated. Note, the petition for writ of mandamus remains pending before this court. Chris Hayes, what do you make of this?
Well, I mean, at one level, it's pretty insane to have a candidate who's on the ballot being the litigant who gets to decide. I mean, he's the state's attorney general, but getting to weigh in. I don't know if there's a particular valence to those votes at that hour for him. I think it's mostly about the Democratic primary. It also feels a little bit to me like if the calculation of the Republican establishment is that Crockett's an easier candidate to beat, that this goes against that, but like he's just doing it for love of the game. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he's just super committed to making it hard for people to vote as just a deeply held view. And you know what I mean? Like
and making it hard to vote in Dallas.
Yes,
so
right.
in a big purple/red state, you take the cities that are very blue and you say those places have terrible voting. Look what a mess.
And so there's not like 3D chess here. It just seems like I don't like the fact that they extended voting hours because there's confusion. I want them to take that back.
But, Chris, the three-dimensional chess is tonight isn't that important. It's November. So as soon as they're starting to cause chaos and mistrust now, things are messy. When they're disastrous in November, it's like, well, we saw this coming.
Yeah, no, and that's an important thing to keep in mind, right? I mean, also this idea that you're going to segregate out these ballots based on who's online at 7 o'clock.
You can't.
And I generally just want to take a step back because we can get in the weeds here. There is no reason to think that there's any illegitimate or fake votes in the entire pool.
Yes.
There's no reason to think any of that.
No voter did anything wrong.
No one did anything wrong. There was confusion. So, like, you should always default to what will allow the most amount of actual legitimate voters to cast votes in an election. Again, whoever it is, whether that would benefit a Republican candidate or a Democratic candidate or the candidate you want or the candidate you don't, like just as a general principle. Yeah. And one of the things that's crazy about the world we live in, it is increasingly going to be the case that there are going to be places in which lower voter turnout would probably help Democrats than Republicans. And it's still the case that as a matter of principle, you should intervene on behalf of the maximal amount of voters being able to vote.
But doesn't this even hurt voter turnout in the fact that if these people are standing in line waiting to vote, at some point, a lot of them just say, forget about it. Yeah. I got to go home. I got to feed my kids dinner. I got to feed the cat. At some point, people are like, it's not worth it.
They do. But I would bet that's a smaller percentage of the people standing in line, number one. Number two, again, Republicans using the boniest part of their head right now in looking at this are not understanding what they're doing. They're setting up Texas to flip in November because they are systematically pissing off the voters there at the end of the day. There are, as we've already indicated tonight, there are voters who are moving out of the Republican column to vote in the Democratic primary because they do not like what the Republicans are doing. There are more Republicans who are voting tonight in the Republican column who are looking at this, who are saying, well, why are you doing? First off, what does this have to do with the Republican primary? How does this impact Ken Paxton, right? There is no impact on Ken Paxton. To your point, Chris, this is a maximalist impact that they can bring to bear on what they want to label as corruption. To your point, it sets up the argument and the narrative that they want to put in place this November across the country.
Yes.
When that confusion sets in, when voters are bemused and don't know and they show up at the wrong polling place, see, we told you there was corruption, shut it down.
Well, and the narrative, let's be specific about it, right? The narrative from Trump and the Republicans, from Trump in particular, from the Trump movement, is you can't trust votes that come from Democratic strongholds.
Yes.
So you can't trust votes from cities. You can't trust votes from places that have lots of people of color. So they're trying to make, I mean, it makes sense to fit the political narrative to try to make the Dallas votes, and I'm sure they hope the Houston votes or any other votes that fit that narrative seem as unknowable as possible so as to create a pretext for being able to exclude them from the totals from that state.
And if we go upstream causally, the whole reason we're here, right, is because the Dallas County GOP refused to co-sign a memorandum of understanding to allow countywide voting. They had a demand for paper ballots, which, again, like, has nothing to do with anything. There's no reason to think that they're better, right? That's a Donald Trump obsession. That's an election denier obsession. Like, the whole causal chain that created the confusion that led to the necessity of opening the election earlier was the local Republican county party doing this.
And to that point, because it's really important to make that logistical point about what went wrong here. So now we've got this order from the Supreme Court of Texas that says, what's the remedy here? Well, we've paused the extension of the voting hours, and votes cast by voters who were not in line to vote at 7 p.m. local time should be separated. But Is that feasible to do at one big county voting location in Dallas County? Probably not. Right. Is it feasible to do at every individual precinct voting location in Dallas County? Because there is no central Dallas County voting location? Absolutely not. You're talking about all of those locations, all needing to do this arcane, if not impossible
And
thing.
what's important about what you just said is that I can assure you that election officials were not standing outside once they got the clearance to keep the polls open, right? They knew where, like, Jacob was there at that appointed hour. He was with the last person who was identified in the line at the appointed hour. They didn't do that at the original polling time because they got the clearance to extend it.
You don't know who's online.
So you don't know who's online.
Yeah, they didn't mark them with a chalk line.
Thank you. That's why this order is so boneheaded.
But their goal isn't that which is knowable. Their goal is an endless morass of litigation. Right. So the goal isn't to actually know who the person was that was the last person online at 6:59.